I'm good.
You want me to wait?
Go ahead.
My name is Florence Armstrong, board chair.
I'm John Wooten, member.
Carol Bland, member.
Margaret Sauerwein, member.
Gloria, you want to state who you are?
Gloria Linebacker, Secretary to the Board of Elections.
Okay. All right.
Okay, we're ready to begin. Usually, at each meeting, we do public comments which are limited to 2 minutes. So, does anyone have any public, would anyone like to make comments prior to the hearing, preliminary? Anybody guess? Yes, no. Okay, moving right along. Mr. Sproul, would you share the procedure, the election protest procedure guide, so that everyone will understand what we're doing?
I will. The first thing I wanted to show is that we had to make contact with the State Board of Elections within 24 hours of the filing. And I want to show you the email that was sent to Caitlin Love and the date and the time.
Right.
He said, can you share that with the board? I circled it. That's the first thing right there. Okay. As y'all were to the board and our citizens, we want to read through our election protest procedure guide so that everybody here would kind of have some understanding of what's going to take place in reference to. And this starts with the election protest procedures guide. An election may be called into question through a formal complaint called an election protest.
Excuse me. Okay.
Okay, back to the beginning here. Everybody got the information. The election protest procedure guide. An election may be called into question through a formal complaint called an election protest based on irregularities or misconduct. State law allows voters or candidates to bring an election protest alleging a defect in the way votes were counted or alleging some of other violation of election law, irregularity, or misconduct. An election protest substantiated by substantial evidence can correct results, cause a recount, or even a new election. An election protest begins when a candidate or a registered voter eligible to participate in protest contest files the protest with the County Board of Elections where the alleged problem occurred. The County Board first engages in a preliminary consideration and decides whether the protest demonstrates probable cause. If it does, the protest advances to a protest hearing where the board will assess evidence in the form of witness testimony, affidavits, and any other evidence presented. The board will determine whether there is substantial evidence that voting irregularities occurred and that the irregularities were outcome determinative of the election. A party may appeal the county board's determination to the state board. A final state board decision may be appealed to the Superior Court in Wake County. And the question is, who may file an election protest? A registered voter who was eligible to vote in the protest election contest or who was a candidate in that election may file an election protest. So primarily any citizen. Where and what to file in an election protest? A protest must be filed in writing on the election protest form, available on the Office of Administrative Hearings website, and must be signed by the protester. The protest must be filed with the County Board of Elections. It is best practice to stamp in protest filings. If the protest form is not used, the County Board must review the materials for substantial compliance with the form requirement during the preliminary consideration stage below. Next page, page 2. When to file an election. Election protests must be filed within the following time frames protested. Protest issue. Counting votes of tabulation results before county canvass meeting. Manner in which votes were counted or tabulated, and protest states good cause for delay in filing by 5 p.m. on the second business day after the county canvass meeting. Irregularity other than vote counting or tabulation protest filed on or after election day by 5 p.m. on the second business day after county canvass. Irregularity other than vote counting or tabulation and protest filed before election day. I'm sorry, Gloria, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Stay delay proceedings until after election day if ballots are already printed or voter registration deadline is already passed or any other protest proceedings will occur within 30 days of election. With an asterisk note, the protest should not be stayed in the defending party so consents. Untimely protest, I could read that, but
That's not what we're doing.
ma'am,
That's not what we're
right,
doing.
I could read that, but this protest was filed timely,
Right.
okay? Notice to the state board and the county attorney. County board must provide to the state board a copy of any election protests and attachments within 24 hours after it is filed. And protest should be mailed to legal@ncsbe.gov, and I showed y'all that. It is best practice to notify your county attorney immediately when a protest is filed. Historically, county attorneys have offered guidance and assistance in the proceedings and in drafting orders. The county attorney may also be able to help find a court reporter, provided we have to have a hearing. Election protest procedures and evidentiary standards. An election protest advances in 2 stages. Each stage has a different evidentiary standard. Preliminary consideration. The county board must notice a meeting and convene as quickly as possible to determine 1, whether the protest has substantially complied with the form requirement, and 2, whether the protest establishes probable cause. The county board will review the filed protest to consider whether it establishes probable cause that irregularities or misconduct have occurred. The county board should analyze all the facts alleged, called reviewing the totality of the circumstances. It is best practice for the county board to consider only allegations presented on the protest form and any attachments. It is not required that the county board provide individualized notice to the protester or affected candidates regarding the preliminary consideration meeting. And probable cause means a non-technical probability that incriminating evidence is involved. Probable cause does not require showing that the protest be correct or more likely true than false. Rather, it is relatively low bar that simply indicates the possibility of a protest's truthfulness. If the county board determines that the protest does not meet this standard, it should dismiss the protest. If it dismisses the protest, the county board must memorialize its decision in writing and provide the decision to the protester and the state board. An initial hearing, the county board will also determine whether the protester substantially complied with the requirement of GS 163-182.9. These requirements include that the protester is eligible to file a protest, that the protester filed the protest in writing and included requiring information on the form, and that the protest was timely filed. If the county board determines that the protest does not meet these procedural requirements, it should dismiss the protest. A party may appeal a county board dismissal to the state board. If the county board finds probable cause and that these procedural requirements are met, the protest advances to a protest hearing. And that is the end of that, because the next thing says protest hearing, and we're not there. Okay, if y'all would take off those pages, and I want y'all to come take those 5 or 6, 7 pages. And you have the North Carolina Administrative Code. I want y'all to see, what I'm doing is making sure that y'all have all the information you need when you get ready to make a decision about the election
Yeah,
process.
you have that.
Okay? Alright. And these are basically the same rules and regulations that we just read. And I just wanted y'all to look through and peruse them. We will not read them, okay? So there's 2 pages there. And again, they're basically the same as what we just read. Then you have the North Carolina General Statutes, 163A-1178. Y'all with me on that? Okay. And it's preliminary consideration.
Wait a minute, I'm not
Yeah,
with you.
yeah.
Okay, this right here.
What page? Oh,
It's,
okay,
it's not numbered.
Right.
okay, I got it,
You with me?
I'm with you.
Yes, the top 2 pages we just took off, and then everything else should be there.
Okay.
Let me see what you got. Let's just hold it out. Hold that. It may not be. I thought it was. Hold on.
Where did you find
There it is right there.
Okay, good.
Right there.
Alright.
Okay. Got them? All right. This is talking in reference to preliminary consideration. The following principles shall apply: and probable cause, appeal, recess, dismissal, all of the things that we just read in reference to. More information in reference. Okay. All right. That's all the documentation that I want to provide with y'all at this time.
Do you have no questions? Gloria,
Yes, ma'am.
do you have any questions?
No, sir, no, ma'am, I'm following you fine.
Okay.
Okay, now, if y'all will, let's pull out the election protest form that y'all have. I have the original, and all of y'all should have a copy. And we shall read through this as well. Election protest form. All persons bringing an election protest under Part 4 of Article 20 shall complete a timely file of the following form. For the purpose of this rule, timely means within the time required by GS 163A, 1177B. Please note this form for the purpose of this rule. Timely means within the time required by GS 163. Please note this form shall not be used to challenge the registration of an individual voter or to report an incident other than an irregularity affecting the outcome of an election. Election protest. Use of this form is required. The form must be filed with the County Board of Election within time frames set out. Please print or type your answers. Use additional sheets if needed to answer the below questions fully. Number the pages of all additional sheets. Please note that filings will be a public record. Please redact all confidential information such as date of birth, social security number, and driver's license number. Respond to all prompts. Failure to complete this form as required may result in the dismissal.
Eric,
I can't, I'm having trouble focusing here, but it's okay.
you want me to read it?
No, I
for
got
you?
it, I got it.
Okay.
This form must be filed within the County Board of Election within the time frame set out. Please print or type your answers. Use additional sheets if needed to answer the below questions fully. Number the pages of all additional sheets, and please note about the birth, the social security, etc. Respond to all prompts. Failure to complete the form as required may result in the dismissal of your protest. Attach additional sheets as necessary. And now we are at the protester. Number 1, Mr. Tarrick D. Pittman. And he has his email and his mailing address. Note, you will be deemed to consent to service at all the above addresses, including email, unless you attach an addendum indicating otherwise. Question number 2, are you represented by counsel? The response was no. Number 3, mark all that describe you. A candidate for the office of Rocky Mount City Council, Ward 1. And then protest scope. It's to list all election contests subject to your protest and calculate the margin of votes separating the apparent winner from the runner-up as of the date of filing. Your response does not waive your right to contest the validity of the current vote count. If your protest concerns all contests on the ballot, you must include the vote margin for each contest, and he clearly stated Rocky Mount City Ward 1 protest contest, and the current vote margin was 168. Everybody with me so far? Page 2 of that protest, which is actually is number 5, it says this protest alleges, and it says select at least one. A defect in the manner by which votes were counted or results tabulated sufficient to cast doubt on the apparent results of the election. He checked. A violation of election law irregularity or misconduct sufficient to cast doubt on the apparent results of the election. He checked. Factual basis and legal argument. Number 6 said, provide all factual allegations in support of your protest. If in fact you allege is outside the scope of your personal knowledge, you may attach affidavits from those who have personal knowledge of that fact. All facts you allege in connection with this protest must be true and accurate to the best of your knowledge and brought in the sincere belief that the facts alleged form a good faith basis to protest the conduct and results of the election. Edgecombe County candidates are seen greeting and assisting individuals who were bused in from a local adult daycare who had clear disabilities in terms of their capacity to vote in violation of GS 163-166.8. There were also some pictures attached to that, okay?
Yeah.
The voting machine located at the Edgecombe County early voting site, the address is wrong, but it was Fairview Road, 301 Fairview Road, went down for the better part of the day. I question whether the votes before it going down were tabulated correctly as well as after. And then he has another one that's written, and I'm going to do the best I can with reading it, and if Mr. Pittman is here, he may can help me with these words only with what I'm reading. Residents within Rocky Mount addresses were listed a part of Ward 1. However, when attempt to vote, they were told that they were county residents and not able to vote. Okay, that was an addendum. Okay. All right, yeah.
Did they vote anyway with a provisional vote?
We ain't there yet.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. I want to get through
Right.
the protest. Okay. Relief. What effect do you believe the facts alleged in response to Prompt 6, if proven, will have on the electoral outcome in the protest contest? Your response should account for the current vote margin calculated in response to Prompt 4. The electoral outcome of the protest contest will change. That's what was checked. Okay? All right, the next one, number 10, says, what relief do you seek? Correct the vote count is one addendum that he is seeking, and a new election. Okay. Number 12, so has any candidate, political party, organization, or person acting on behalf of the same requested that you bring this protest? He said no. Have you received any financial or other benefits or promise of future financial or other benefit in exchange for filing this protest? He said no. Okay. It says list all affected parties including their service Because everything else, I believe, was standard. That's standard written there, I believe.
Right.
Okay, and he listed Andre Knight and the address of Andre Knight. Now I'm at number 15. It says, by signing this protest application, you affirm the following. I, Tarrick Pittman, swear under penalty of perjury that the information provided in this protest filing is true and accurate to the best of my knowledge, and that I have read and understand the following. And then it says initial. I have reviewed the statutes and administrative rules governing election protests, including all deadlines. My protest must originate with a filing at the County Board of Elections. I must timely serve all affected parties. I must prove by substantial evidence either the existence of a defect in the manner by which votes were counted or results tabulated, or the occurrence of a violation of election law, irregularity, or misconduct, either of which were sufficient to cast doubt on the apparent results of the election. It is a crime to interfere unlawfully with the conduct and certification of an election. It is a crime to interfere unlawfully with the ability of a qualified individual to vote and to have their vote counted in the election. The facts I allege in connection with this protest are true and accurate to the best of my knowledge, and I have a good faith basis to protest the conduct and results of the election. The last statement, it says submitting fraudulent or falsely completed declarations is a Class 1 felon under Chapter 163A of the General Statute, and this notice is provided pursuant to State Law 2013-381 S 5.4. Signature of protester, Mr. Pittman, dated October the 19th, 2019. The Nash County was, the notary was from Nash County, and it was filed in my office. At 4:50, October the 16th. It's stamped. Y'all see that?
Yes.
The county board must provide the state board with a complete copy of a filed protest within 1 business day after it is filed. Notice the email was sent to Caitlin Love that morning, so that put me in 1 business day. In addition, the county board should provide a copy of the election order with this copy of the protest. Please direct any questions to your county board of elections or the North Carolina State Board of Election Ethics. The next thing that you're going to see is 2 pictures. I think y'all have seen these because I sent this to y'all by electronic filings.
Yes.
Okay, and then you see the second picture, okay? All right, now, board members, you've heard the allegations of this protest. Now, anything that I can provide you with that will help you understand just where we are, I'll be more than happy to do so. If any of you have any questions for me, I'll be more than happy to try to answer to the best of my ability.
How many people were not allowed to vote?
There were some that came into the Rocky Mount one-stop site on 301 Fairview Road, and they were told that they were not inside the city limits. Well, thank God I happened to have been there one day when 2 people come in, they were husband and wife, and I asked them to let me come back to my office and find out what was going on with why they were not able to vote, because they said certainly that they were able to. I came back, found out that they were actually eligible to vote. They were not in our geocodes. Those situations where sometimes the geocodes are not 100% with actual being inside the city limits or outside the city limits. However, the question was, we had 11 provisional ballots. Out of the 11, 8 counted. Were provisional offered? My staff is offer provisional every time that someone comes in. I asked that couple, to just wait. And then I called that couple back and specifically asked them to go back to the polls, which they did graciously, and voted provisional, and their votes they counted.
Okay. The machine, the voting machine,
Yes, ma'am.
how long was that voting machine down?
Less than 30 minutes. How do you know, Jerry Sproul? Because the call came to me that it was down. I got in my car, it took me about 20 minutes to drive over there, and I was there in the process and got the judges there, and we corrected the situation and moved on.
Did this machine being down cause voters to not be able to vote?
Absolutely not, man. We have what you call an emergency bin,
Right.
okay? The emergency bin will allow the social machine, which is Seams One-Stop System Manager, and it's electronic. Votes continue regardless of what the M100 is. Votes continue. Once we got the M100 straightened out and matched it up with SOSA, it matched up perfectly. Yes, ma'am. So the question, and the answer to your question is, the voting was not interrupted. It was just putting them in the M100, but you were able to still put them in the emergency bin. And by putting them in the emergency bin, once the M100 was straightened out, then we were able to get all of them put in.
Okay. Board members, do any of you have any questions?
I don't.
Okay, that was just one item,
Now, was that one or two?
no, about the machine.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Now, this other question is separate, is that right? That,
yeah, because I want to make sure I do it in order. Help me here, Mr.
Okay, the first one was the effect and the manner in which the votes were counted.
Okay,
Okay.
we've covered that.
Yes, ma'am, okay? And,
Okay, so, board members, in the, when we were doing our canvassing and everything, did everything appear to be okay, properly done with those little
Tapes.
Thank you. Thank you. Those tapes that we get and we have tabulation and everything matched. Did everything match?
yes.
Everything did match. Okay. So there's one other thing we did. So what would you suggest that would cast doubt on the fairness, that's not the word, the results of this election? Is there anything that you were made aware of?
Ms. Armstrong,
Huh.
Madam Chair, before we go to that though, can we address that third item?
Oh, we haven't addressed that one
I
yet?
don't think so. The third one was about,
The residents with
Yeah.
the adult,
Would you please, where is that?
it's
I lost my
the,
place.
it's right here.
Oh, yeah,
right,
okay,
okay.
okay.
As an elected official for the Board of Elections, anything that goes on beyond the no campaign sign is out of my jurisdiction. If it gets to be that it's out of tact, then we would have to call some other forces in to handle that situation, okay? There was question about candidates greeting people getting off the bus to come to vote.
Yeah.
And, so what, Ms. Wu?
I was gonna ask that question.
Okay, all right. By greeting them does not help them vote in any manner, to my knowledge. And I don't know how they could have, but to my knowledge, greeting them could not have any knowledge. And I guess it could be an exchange of greetings. Well, once a person goes through my voting enclosure, that person can request assistance from anybody that they would like, even a candidate. That's what the law says. All right. If the voter has not ask anybody outside to help them, then they can ask one of my poll workers for assistance, and my poll workers are required to assist them,
Okay.
okay? All right, now, I can't determine someone's ability to vote because I'm not a doctor nor am I a psychiatrist. So that is all I can tell you in reference to that, okay? But I do know that anybody can ask for assistance inside our voting enclosure, you know, that they like. They can ask for somebody on the outside and bring them in and say, hey, Mr. Poll Worker, I brought this person in to help me. They can do that. And all of that is legal based on the laws that we've been governed by in North Carolina.
Unless that person is a union representative or an employee.
There you go.
Right.
That's good. Very good. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's right.
Okay, so the bus that these people came in on, it was within
Okay,
the
so what,
restricted limits, was it?
The bus came in the driveway out there. It was on the no campaign side. My
No,
side.
that-
Yeah, it was behind
The
the
election.
no campaign sign. So it's not under my jurisdiction in that manner.
So all this took place outside the polling place.
Yes, based on the pictures that I saw. I mean, that's, I think I do remember getting a call in reference to that. And I told my poll workers at that time that if someone came in and needed their assistance, that they have the authority to help them.
so what happened when they went inside?
When
It's
they-
not on this paper.
Right.
It's not spelled out on the form. What is on this form is talking about people getting off the bus. They're being greeted by the candidates, people getting off the bus, and they assisted them. So I don't know if the assistance was off the bus or with the walking, but it doesn't say.
It says when
Said they were
attempting,
reading at the bus.
Okay, where you
however, when
read on the map?
attempting to vote, they were told they were county residents.
No,
That's
we've already
a
covered that
separate
one.
issue,
We've
yeah.
done that.
We've covered that one. That was the one about the geocodes.
Oh, okay.
The
Yes,
one
ma'am.
above that, you see
Okay.
factual basis number 6?
Mm-hmm.
Edgecombe County candidates are seen greeting and assisting individuals who were bused in from a local adult daycare who have clear disabilities in terms of their capacity to vote in violation of GS 163-166.8.
So we don't know whether or not those individuals actually went into the voting place?
I can speculate all anybody want me to. I would think they did go in there. That's where he got off the bus and nobody could stop them from going in there.
Right.
Based on this information, I can't determine that.
Right.
Well, even at that, even with disabilities, they're eligible to vote.
Right.
But that's not the issue.
We should provide help.
Yeah.
But that's not the issue. The issue is candidates were seen greeting and assisting individuals. Now, like I said, I don't know what kind of assistant was. Was it assisting them off the bus or assisting in voting? Because this is so general. It's not specific enough for me to make a determination. Now, that's me.
Now, I really think that there needs to be some further clarification as to what actually happened.
Well, today is the day that the information needs to be here for us to make a,
Determination.
Determination.
Preliminary hearing.
because the preliminary hearing will determine whether we will have a hearing. And I don't want to dominate the conversation, so I'm gonna let you all talk. But based on,
But I you need to go back to exactly what was stated about that, and that's kind of clear. To me, it's real clear. It says, let me get it to it, it's on page 2 of the protest. And I'll read it, and I know y'all can too. It says, Edgecombe County candidates are seen greeting and assisting individuals who are bused in from a local adult daycare center, who have clear disabilities in terms of their capacity to vote in violation. Along with that are pictures of people getting off the bus and pictures of people walking down the walkway going into the voting enclosure. And to me, there was a statement that was made in reference to, and I don't know nothing else I can say about it myself.
Well, okay, what is your feeling?
I really don't see how anybody outside of a psychiatrist or whatever could determine that these people were, they had any disabilities that restricted them from voting.
Yeah, that's up to the
It's up to the
poll
psychiatrist.
workers at that site.
Yeah, but the poll workers went on the outside. You gotta remember now, my
You're
poll
dealing
workers on
with
the
the
inside.
facts on
That's
this
right.
form, only the information.
And let me add this to y'all. I left y'all some information there about the voting, assistance to voters. Y'all got that, copy that?
Mhm.
Any assistance rendered to a voter under GS 160 shall be performed in person, shall not be allowed by electronic paper or mechanical means of communication when a person outside the voting booth, except as provided in GS 163. The use of electronic, paper, or mechanical devices by the voter while alone in the voting booth and not in contact with another person outside the voting booth shall not be considered voting assistance. No precinct official may refuse the voter's choice of the person to assist the voter unless the person so named is excluded, does not appear at the voting place to assist the voting prior to the close of the polls, or refuse to assist the voter.
You have anything you would like to add,
Not at this time.
Margaret?
Well, it's, as far as them having disabilities that affect their capacity to vote, that's not our decision.
No.
So
Okay, so we're gonna just deal with facts on this paper. And at this time, unless you have something else to say, Mr. Sproul, I'll entertain a motion that this, protest be dismissed.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor of dismissal of this protest? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Glory.
You're welcome.
So this preliminary hearing has been dismissed, and the hearing is over.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
We're gonna hang up on you, or hang around for a minute.
Okay.
I'm done.
Okay, Mr. Sproul is done, so we can hang up, okay?
Okay.
Okay, bye-bye. I guess I did that right.
I think
Okay,
you did.
all right. So this concludes the hearing, and let me check my agenda to make sure there is nothing else that we're to entertain.
No, we took care of number 4.
Okay.
Meeting.
I'll entertain a motion for this adjournment.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Been moved and properly second that we adjourn the meeting. All in favor? Let me hear aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.
How you doing, man?
Good, man.
All right, how you doing?
Good, man.
That's what you got. You go right, that's policy. You go criminal stuff out of there. You don't tell me, you don't tell me what's right about. You don't tell, I'm just telling you. I'm a grown man, you don't tell me what's right about. I'm just, well, you just go ahead on, cause we don't have anything to talk about. You don't tell, you show will, but you don't tell me what I can write about. Yeah, you show will.